And it's time now for a motion to adjourn with MP Chris Famous and Dwayne Robinson. And a pleasant good day to you, MP. And how are you, man?
Hey, Brother Dorn, good afternoon to you and good afternoon to Bermuda.
Yes, indeed. On the phone lines, again, because of such conditions that we're following. So we have to do what we have to do.
Yeah, most definitely. If only everybody else did the same thing. Well, top of the list, let's just say congratulations to our mate who's finally a father.
Yes, congrats goes out to him. We're talking about the one, the only, Mr. Dwayne Robinson, the co-host of Motion to Adjourn.
Yeah. And congratulations to he and his wife. They had a young son born last week, as we predicted. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's in the midst of all the challenges. There's always good news somewhere along the line.
Silver lining, right? Every
Yeah,
cloud has
exactly.
one.
He was a little concerned. He thought the baby might have been born Thursday when the hurricane was supposed to come.
Mm-hmm.
And we was like, well, I guess you're gonna have to name him Larry Robinson.
Yeah. Well, they had a hurricane baby.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, now with a baby will now be able to forget the day they was born. But
Yeah, Larry Robinson.
Fortunately, we didn't have that hurricane hit us.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, we have another hurricane hitting us. The fourth time around in 18 months, called Hurricane COVID.
Yeah, this is the biggest one we've had over the years. So, yeah.
So we're gonna so today's show is focused on COVID compliance, and we are going to be fortunate. First time on this show, we are going to have the Minister of National Security, Honorable Renee Ming, JPMP, from Constituency 1, St. George's Girl. She's going to be calling in to speak on some of the new regulations and what the departments under her remit are going to be doing to ensure that people are complying. Because the fact of the matter is, part of the reason we're in the situation we're in right now is because some persons feel that they don't have to comply with regulations. They could just do what they want, irregardless of the risk that they put themselves and the rest of the country in. And this is where we're at, Don. I mean,
Yeah. I would have never thought that the numbers would increase the way they have. We've had some very high numbers in a matter of days. So, I don't know. We've got to work on this.
Oh, the thing about it, Dawn, is that we were told, we collectively as an island, we collectively as a world, were told when September, October rolls around, the Delta variant is going to spike. As the temperature cools, the Delta variant spikes. So that was the big push, part of the big push for persons to get immunized over the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And, some people complied and some people says, no, I don't need no vaccination. I'm good. I drink my orange juice. I'm good. I'll just get some sunshine.
Yeah, vitamin D. Yeah, that's a supplement. I'll take some vitamin D and hope I'm safe. But no, the variant doesn't have.
So, that's part of the. I wouldn't say that's all the reason, but that's part of the reason that what we And here's the thing, right? No, you had on your news report, you had questions going around. Where's the premier? Why he isn't talking? Well, when he was talking every day or every other day on the news or press conferences, he's talking too much. He's dictating to us what we're got to do. This is infringing on my personal freedom. No, things have hit the fan. It's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
So the minister should be calling in a few, but just as a just something from the region,
hmm
Delta is getting so bad in other countries that have a even lower vaccination rate than us, that governments have now start putting mandatory mandates in place where government employees either have to get vaccinated, those that medically are able to get vaccinated have to get vaccinated, or they are in trouble, stand the chance of not being able to come inside government buildings, and if they aren't able to come to work after a certain point of time, they potentially may lose their jobs.
in the meantime, if they don't come in, do they get paid or no?
Well, okay, in Antigua, the cabinet in Antigua recently passed a thing this week, basically saying all government employees as of September 20th must show proof of vaccination. If they don't show proof of vaccination, then they can't come inside government buildings because it's continuously causing shutdowns.
hmm
So they still get paid.
Oh, okay, that's the
As of
question. Yeah.
October the 1st, hold on. Wait for it. But as of October 1st,
Yeah.
if they don't comply with the regulations, then they're going to start talking about termination, because if you're not coming to work, this means you're abandoning your post.
So if you're not able
Just,
to, exactly, yeah. So if you don't get your shots, that means you can't come to work. If you don't come to work and you can't come to work, like you said, your job is out the door because
right.
you're not
So
working. Yeah.
in Antigua, their vaccination rate is a lot lower than us. Their vaccination rate is roughly about 37%. So basically, 1/3 of the country is vaccinated, 2/3 isn't.
So what's
So
the
that
population
explains
of Antigua?
the population of Antigua is roughly 110,000
Okay.
persons. So for argument's sake, let's say you have 33,000, 34,000 people that are vaccinated and 60 something thousand people that are not vaccinated. So you clearly have the majority that are unvaccinated. So if you see what we're going through, where we have 2/3 vaccinated, and if you have a country where 2/3 are unvaccinated, you can imagine what they're going to be hit with, right?
Yeah.
So I say all that to say, no, I ain't advocating that that's what the government of Bermuda does. Let's be clear before anybody runs off the rails and comes with that. What I'm simply saying is that governments have a primary responsibility for the preservation of life and the preservation of the economy as best they can. And when situations such as what we're in now come to fruition, a government has to make different mandates. Some are going to be extreme, some are going to be not so extreme. But what the common thread here is that economies are starting to collapse. I'm in America, where the government here, President Joe Biden, has had to say all federal employees are now got to get vaccinated. So it's not just Antigua; it's other countries, and you're going to see that as a trend. That he also said that anyone applying for a visa to get into America, you got to be vaccinated. You're applying to become a citizen, you got to get vaccinated. You got to show that you're vaccinated. It's only a matter of time before America says you can't come into America unless you're vaccinated. That the writing's on the wall.
Okay. It's like a passport. You know what I mean? A vaccine passport.
Yeah, I mean, if you said this, they'll say, no way, that's something out of a movie. Yeah, that you have to say that. But the reality is that if you said to people 2 years ago, our hospitals going to be full with nowhere for people to go, you wouldn't believe that. But that's not only is it full, but more important, those that are working at the hospital are burnt out. Many people are fatigued. Many people who's working there almost 7 days a week are now catching other illnesses because lack of rest, or they're testing positive because they're dealing with so many people coming through there that are unvaccinated, so they have to isolate. You can't have a whole ward of nurses if they're all tested positive.
Yeah. What
So
can we do? We got to do the right thing. So, like I say.
yeah. So these are the things that the general public needs to keep in mind. That there's a reading guidelines are there. Don't get on Facebook. Don't know where is the premier, where is it? If you aren't following guidelines overall, what is he gonna say? What is he gonna say no that he hasn't been saying for the last 18 months? Not saying that the premier shouldn't speak, but really, let's not be hypocritical of people.
So, what's the rundown like for the region in the Caribbean in terms of the numbers there?
In the overseas territories, the numbers are as follows. In Anguilla, they're roughly 70% vaccinated. In Cayman Islands, they're 71%. In Montserrat, they're down at 30%. In Turks and Caicos Island, they're at 70%. And in the Virgin Islands, it's just about reach 50%, which is a big improvement for them because in July they were at 30%. And we in Bermuda are at 67%, which isn't much improvement because 2 months ago we was at 65%. So the needle hasn't moved much when it comes to, the pun intended, the needle hasn't moved much for our vaccination rate over the last 2 months. So what does that tell us is that people are like, nah, I ain't getting vaccinated. Hence, we got the situation we got now.
Any numbers on places like Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad, Bahamas?
Jamaica is roughly just past 10%.
Wow,
And
that's
they
it?
have, they have
10%.
what they call no movement days, where they have to basically you can't leave your house. There's no movement, right? Trinidad is around 25%. Barbados is a little higher, they're around 50%. But again, look at a place like Grenada now. They've had Grenada, unfortunately, they've seen 12 deaths in the last 2 weeks. And unfortunately, 4 of those deaths were in senior homes. So essentially, somebody went there who was positive, went to visit a loved one, and COVID started spreading in the senior home.
It's amazing that they didn't have the person's check prior to entry. That's unfortunate. They didn't somehow detect that before they let them in.
Well, it's somebody spoke about it earlier, and they said basically people let the guard down because up until about a month ago, they had very low COVID numbers in Grenada because they don't really their numbers were very low. Like they had like 2 deaths for the whole time for COVID. So people were like, "Oh, well, nah, we ain't got COVID in our country. You could come see your granny." I'm just using a term, and lo and behold, then he gets COVID, and passes it on to somebody else, and Now you have 4 deaths over there.
Man, yeah, because the elderly, they are the most vulnerable in terms of getting this because the Delta variant doesn't. I mean, they come for you. There's no doubt about it. I mean, wear your mask. Even if the folks around you that are not vaccinated, wear your mask.
Yeah. So it's a challenge all around, and it all is like you teach somebody how to cross the street. Look left, look right, look left again. Right? Those are the rules. There's rules are there to help avoid you getting knocked down and killed. But if you decide, hey, I ain't got to look left and I ain't got to look right, I'm just going to walk across the street, and you get knocked down, who are you going to blame? You're going to say, oh, Uncle Dawn didn't teach me how to cross the street properly.
Blame it on me. I see your point. A lot of it's common sense. I mean, the writing's on the wall, like you said. If you put your hand in fire, that's what's going to happen. You probably get burnt,
Yeah, so, these are the challenges we're dealing with. I mean, it's frustrating, but as a country, we still have to deal with each other with a degree of compassion, but it really wears thin when you see and hear people in the hospital who it's avoidable. As the Premier said, this is avoidable. 95% of people who have been hospitalized are those who are unvaccinated. 100% of those who have unfortunately passed away are unvaccinated.
What was that again? 100%?
No, I'm saying in Bermuda, our stats.
Go ahead.
Speak to Dr. Miller.
Mm-hmm.
95% of those who have been hospitalized are persons who have been unvaccinated, right? I don't know if they're vaccinated now or not. But when they went into the hospital, they were not vaccinated.
95%. Wow. Big number.
Right. So they put out the stats. So
Okay.
like 120-something people went into the hospital, been hospitalized for the balance of this year. Only 5 of those were persons who were fully vaccinated. Now, when it comes to persons who unfortunately have passed away, the stats is also clear that everybody who's passed away, no one's been fully vaccinated. So, it's pretty hard to ignore the stats.
Yeah, I'm got you. We have MP Ming on the line as well.
Minister Ming.
Minister, yeah.
Good afternoon, Minister Ming. How you doing?
Good evening, Samus, and good evening to your listening audience, and good evening to Mr. Bassett.
Hi. You know why? The reason why I called you that because I just introduced him as MP Favors. You have my apologies.
Not a problem.
Don't worry, Dawn. She's one of us. She's for St. George's.
Oh yes. Okay. That makes a big difference. That makes a big difference. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, how you guys doing?
So, Minister, we're gonna go to a quick news break, and then when we come back, we'll get right into it.
Okay, fine.
You're locked to Power 95, Bermuda's big station, at 94.9 FM, a Bermuda Broadcasting Company station.
Ever wonder what your dog does when you aren't home? Are the neighbor's kids destroying your garden while you're out? Or maybe you're looking to increase your home security. With One Smart Home from One Communications, you can keep an eye on your home from anywhere. Subscribe today for $15 a month and get 2 additional cameras free for the first 3 months and free installation. To learn more, visit onecom.bm/smarthome or call 700-7777. Rocky, get off the couch.
Hi, this is Pat Trott. We invite you to join me Tuesday mornings on Power 95 at 8:15 for the Travel Edge weekly travel talk show. The same experienced team of travel professionals, same phone number and location at 35 Church Street, Hamilton. We look forward to being of service to you as you live your travel dreams.
Hi, I'm Bruce Barrett, Bruce the Beverage Man. Be sure to tune in at 8:20 every Wednesday morning right here on Power 95 for Welch's Wednesday. I'll let you know where I am so that you can stop by and get a free Welch's juice and the Wednesday edition of the Royal Gazette. It's Welch's Wednesday. Every Wednesday right here on Power 95.
Pleased to bring you this AccuWeather.
AccuWeather, the world's weather leader. Forecasters and meteorologists who thrive on the new technology that can help you chart your day. From St. George's to Somerset, sunshine to severe weather, with digital Doppler radar, AccuWeather helps you stay on top of your day. Proudly brought to you by BF&M. AccuWeather only on ZBM TV9, where community comes first.
This AccuWeather report is brought to you by the BF&M Insurance Group.
Seeking early morning inspiration and motivation to jumpstart your week? Tune in to Power 95 every Monday morning at 7:45 for Impact Corner by Dr. G and Miss Thang. Let your Monday mornings be purpose-driven as you jumpstart your day. Tune in with us for an impactful and powerful experience. That's Impact Corner by Dr. G and Miss Thang every Monday morning at 7:45.
Are you a lover of quality food? Join me, Shelly Thunder, at 5:30 p.m. every Wednesday on Ocean 89 for Foodie 411. We will keep you in the loop with the hottest restaurant menus, wine and cocktail pairings, and food-related products and events. We'll share delicious tips to satisfy your inner food critic, from gourmet dining to casual fare. Tune in every Wednesday at 5:30 on Ocean 89.
Hi, this is Pat Trott. We invite you to join me Tuesday mornings on Power 95 at 8:15 for the Travel Edge weekly travel talk show. The same experienced team of travel professionals, same phone number and location at 35 Church Street, Hamilton. We look forward to being of service to you as you live your travel dreams.
Hi, I'm Bruce Barrett, Bruce the Beverage Man. Be sure to tune in at 8:20 every Wednesday morning right here on Power 95 for Welch's Wednesday. I'll let you know where I am so that you can stop by and get a free Welch's juice and the Wednesday edition of the Royal Gazette. It's Welch's Wednesday. Every Wednesday right here on Power 95.
Join hosts Jamila Lodge and Shelly Thunder for BEDC's Mind Your Business radio show on Thursdays at 4 p.m. Tune in to find out how to mind your business with BEDC, special guest entrepreneurs, industry experts, and more. Because if you don't mind your business, who will? Brought to you by BEDC. Bermuda Business starts here.
Ever wonder what your dog does when you aren't home? Are the neighbor's kids destroying your garden while you're out? Or maybe you're looking to increase your home security. With One Smart Home from One Communications, you can keep an eye on your home from anywhere. Subscribe today for $15 a month and get 2 additional cameras free for the first 3 months and free installation. To learn more, visit onecom.bm/smarthome or call 700-7777. Rocky, get off the couch.
Take control of your Butterfield credit card by downloading the Butterfield Card Alerts app. Monitor your spending activity with real-time transaction alerts sent directly to your mobile device. And if your card is lost or stolen, use the app to turn the card off, preventing any further transactions from being processed. Download the app from the Apple Store or Google Play Store today. Customized credit card controls. This is banking by Butterfield. The Bank of N.T. Butterfield & Son Limited is licensed to conduct banking business by the Bermuda Monetary Authority.
94.9 Bermuda. Our 95.
Okay, Chris, you may continue.
Yes, so it's my distinct pleasure to welcome to Motion to Adjourn for the first time Minister Renee Ming. Now, I don't have her long bio, but what I can say, first of all, she's St. George's girl at heart. Is that you, Minister Ming?
Absolutely. Wouldn't have it any other way.
And she is one of the most hardest working MPs who have turned minister in the last year ago. She has worked in the background of Corporation of Hamilton, Corporation of St. George's. I remember when I first met her, she was directing the parking down in the square. Remember, you used to be able to park in the square doing?
You're getting way back famous.
Yeah, way back. Yeah, I remember. And the bottom line is that a lot of times, especially in times like this, people are like, well, where's the government? And they forget that the government is made up, whether the elected government or the civil service, they are made up of people that live and breathe just like everybody else. So the first thing I want to ask you, Minister, is how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Obviously these are busy times, and at times it can be stressful. But you know what? I got up every morning, I say my prayers, and I do the best I can.
And how's your family doing?
My family is okay. It's challenging times, right? I mean, my family is no different from any other family, and so we're coping as best we can. We have a small bubble, and we're trying to just stay healthy at the same time. We miss our extended family because I come from a very large family, and not being able to have like picnics and gatherings for birthdays and things like that. It's been a hard year. So we've learned to do some things virtually. We have this new thing we're going to be starting in our family that we'll be doing via Zoom. So we're just trying to stay connected in the best ways that we can. But it's hard. It's hard.
Mm-hmm. And one question: how's that person who thinks that they're independent doing?
How is what? Say that again.
The person in your family who claims that they're independent thinker. How are they doing?
Now, if you could imagine, and you know what she's independent of, and that's being for St. George's. So she absolutely enjoyed the Cup match holiday, unlike me, who, obviously was not the result I expected, hoped, or even prayed for. But it's funny though, fam. She came to me in the morning and said, "Mommy, your teams can lose today, right?" So I tell her, I shushed her away. Got cracking, girl. My team's looking good. By 12:30, she asked me if I was going to be okay when my team lost today. So needless to say,
you're breaking up a little bit, Minister. Are you on a speaker, friend?
You can hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you a little better now.
Okay. Now I said so. By 12:30 on the second day of Cup match, she just asked me if I was going to be okay when my team lost.
She was asking you, are you okay?
Yeah. So needless to say, at the end of the day, everybody else in the house had a hanging lip, and she was quite happy.
Okay. So, Minister, unfortunately, we got you here not to talk about St. George's Cup match victory as yet, but we have you here to speak about the situation as is, the new regulations, and how are the agencies, the departments under your remit, how are they going about enforcing this? Because as I was telling Brother Dawn earlier, people aren't following simple rules. We're in the position we are now.
You know what, famous, it is challenging, and the Ministry of National Security is tasked with the enforcement side of the public health regulations. And so what you're seeing, what you'll see from our side is really no different in that our police officers, while they're doing their liquor license checks, are also doing COVID checks. So they'll be out, they'll be looking. They have enforcement powers through the public health regulations, and they also have the ticketing regime where they can use that. But a lot of times, and you would have heard me say this before, is that enforcement also provides sometimes for an opportunity to educate. And there are some cases, and persons have reached out to me at times, and they'll ask a question about various things, and it's because they may not, may not understand the rules that are out there, or they need some clarity on it. And I just think it's important that once we look at it from an enforcement side, we look at it as we take the opportunity to educate as well, because that's extremely important, so that people know and that they understand, and they kind of can be prepared for the things that come. In terms of like what you see from us, and I'll just let's say we had the BPS, which is the Bermuda Police Service, and they continue to do their liquor license checks. We have the Coast Guard on the water, and they'll continue to do their checks. A lot of where we're moving to is personal responsibility. I mean, we can enforce and you can legislate, but, as a people, I think we've been in this game now for about 18 months, and we got to just decide, we want to keep ourselves healthy, and then, make the decisions and put the right decisions and the right things to do so.
So, Minister, one of the challenging things that we had to go through earlier this summer was the mandatory quarantine. How did your agencies deal with that, and how are they dealing with that now?
Okay, so once the decision was made to have the quarantine facilities, because that's where my ministry actually becomes involved in terms of the quarantine facilities. So the quarantine authority for the island is actually the Ministry of Health, as the Minister of Health. And so under the Quarantine Act of 2017, all of the things that you see laid out in there fall within the remit of health. The Ministry of National Security were tasked with the operationalization of the supervised quarantine facilities. So when persons would come home and pass through the airport, and they were, they had to do the quarantine period in the hotel in a supervised facility, they were under the remit then of the Ministry of National Security. And it was, I would say it was a bad experience. We had our challenges along the way, but we managed to get through. I don't have the exact number, but we had over 400 and something people that came into supervised quarantine and then transitioned out of supervised quarantine. We're grateful for those persons who came on board with us and helped to ensure that people were comfortable while they were in supervised quarantine. You kind of have to, sometimes when we're in situations, especially in terms of service, you have to look at things and say, how would I want to be treated? And so that helps to ensure that the person that we're dealing with has, they're respected, and that we're treating them in a way that we would want to be treated. So as we wind down now with supervised quarantine, and there were changes to supervised quarantine anyhow on August the 23rd, so you no longer had to stay within the hotel facilities for 14 days. So now we have a combined period, which is 4 days in supervised quarantine, 10 days at home, and then effective September 30th, it'll be 14 days at home. And so there will be.
So can you explain to the people? I would say the people of Bermuda, but there are more than just Bermudians listening. Can you explain to the listening audience how, when we go into this new phase in October the 1st, how exactly that's supposed to work?
Sure. When we move into the next phase, which is the home quarantine, actually right now there are some parts of it that we're still working out, but anybody who may have traveled and has had any home quarantine, or even prior to us going into quarantine period, may have been affixed with the monitoring bracelet. And so that bracelet it helps to monitor persons who are either in quarantine or whatever. And I think that those will be used for the home quarantine phase that we're going into now as well. We're still working because the persons that fall under that, you have so many teams, guys, as a result of the pandemic and so many areas. And that team is actually called the Traveler Surveillance Unit, and they fall under the Ministry of Health. and we provide assistance to them, where you'll sometimes see that team have members of the Royal Bermuda Regiment accompany them on home visits, and so we assist. Me, meaning the Ministry of National Security, are assisting in that regard. And as we work on the plan now on transitioning out, the Ministry of National Security has been asked to assist again and to look to see where we may have resources that can be used as well.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you. One of the new regulations that came out was no raft ups. And with the Coast Guard that has been put in place for the last year or so, how are they enforcing, double checking, and enforcing these no raft ups?
The Coast Guard is generally on the water for 12 hours a day over the weekends, and especially holiday weekends, and they have been creative in adjusting their hours to be able to accommodate some of the early morning activities that they hear about. So the Coast Guard in itself has a full team now. It's comprised of members from the Royal Bermuda Regiment. You have some police officers that are working there as well. And that is what they do. They're patrolling the waters constantly to be able to, one, do their checks, make sure that people are safe, because our rule is public safety first and foremost, and then in addition to that, just like the BPS, they're doing their COVID checks.
Mm-hmm. So a lot, like as we're seeing with in other jurisdictions, unfortunately, a lot of service personnel, let me use that word, whether they be police, fires, customs, whoever, they, unfortunately, because they are front-facing with police, are interacting with people face-to-face every day. The customs and immigration are interacting with travelers as they come off of the plane. Have we seen any large proportion of interruption of service? Not necessarily interruptions of services, but a proportion of service personnel having to isolate and so on?
The services that fall under me, Chris, are the police, fire, customs, corrections, and the Royal Bermuda Regiment, and then I have the Ministry of National Security headquarters proper. I would say that every service has had some impact, and it could be impact as a result of being, inflicted with COVID. It could be that the children, challenges with children not being in school now. It could be close contact. So there is, I would, go on to say that almost every single service has had some impact in terms of COVID. But we have, we regularly liaise with the department heads to just make sure that if there are any critical decisions that need to be made, that the minister is aware of them. We try and mitigate them as much as we can. And then one other thing that we're trying to do is to encourage, because it's still a challenge. These are frontline workers. And so in addition to dealing with COVID, they also deal with the day-to-day challenges that we would normally have. And so we were, even just last night, there was a message that I sent, and it was more so to just recognize, to appreciate, to thank all of these services, and to just, let them know that we understand, and to be encouraged.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the thing is that anybody who's on social media, especially over the last 2 weeks, or the last week, I should say, you're seeing notices of this place not necessarily shutting down forever, but having to shut down for deep cleaning. This restaurant is now closed. This school is closed. This or going to remote. So it's almost inevitable that somewhere in our government service providers we're going to get there's challenges as well. But you can't just say, okay, well, we're closing down the fire station for 2 weeks because someone tested positive.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
The show must go on. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. However, the reality is we can't expect persons who were exposed to, like, oh, you got to come to work because there's just cats up the tree, all right? And a lot of times it's very heart-wrenching, especially like working at Belk. It's heart-wrenching. You see the comments that people have, why they ain't doing this, why they ain't doing this. It took us 2 hours to get something that should take half. There's always a reason why. So, people have to be cognizant that this is going to affect some of our service providers in the form of the fire and rescue, our prison officers, Royal Bermuda Regiment, or the police. And, this is some of the reasons why there's a domino effect of why we need to follow the regulations.
Well, famous, you're absolutely correct, right? I mean, each one of the services, their head, they have teams that have put pandemic plans in place. But, even the best of plan can have weaknesses in it. But what that does is, like, they may rotate workers, you know what I mean, have different teams that are, on at specific times to mitigate the risk of exposure to other teams, because you're absolutely correct, right? These are critical and essential services, and it would be very difficult for them to not come to work. So we, as I said again, is that, sometimes instead of being quick to criticize, like, let's thank some of these persons, because they, for them, it's rain, blow, or shine. It doesn't matter what the challenge is, that they're there. And that could be from Bermuda Fire Service to Bermuda Regiment to Bermuda Police Service to Customs and to the Department of Corrections. And it's easy sometimes to criticize, but we got to remember that in most cases, these are your friends, these are family, and you know what? They're working through these challenges.
Yeah. I have a few questions that were sent in by some of our listeners. One may fall on your remit, one may not, but I promised them that I would ask the questions. And our people, you didn't ask the question that I sent you.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer.
The first question is, if we are at this level of the pandemic and putting a curfew from 12:30 a.m. to 5 a.m., wouldn't it be better to curfew at 9 p.m. instead? Less socializing, the better. There is less contact. No, most are home by 12:30 anyway, so the time seems moot. IMO, in my opinion. What would you say to that listener?
Well, I think that we have to understand, like, why we put curfews in place, right? And that's, we want to kind of minimize movement in hopes, again, of reducing exposure. I probably had about 5 messages yesterday where people, they were asking for the curfew to be there, like, it should be 9 or it should be 10 or whatever. But I think the delicate balance, what you're seeing, is balancing a health pandemic and also trying to balance an economy. And so, when we look at the time, it does allow for maybe restaurants to be able to have persons who complete the dinners. If you had a later dinner reservation or something like that. So, like I said to you, the government's trying its best to, balance the health emergency and just keep our economy going and having things happen. So we can, look at the curfew as a, should it have been longer? We think it should be longer, whatever. But again, it still comes down to us being personally responsible and making smart decisions.
Yeah, because the thing is that if you shut down the island at 9, that means basically all the restaurants are going to close. That means a lot of those persons who work in that industry are going to be not necessarily unemployed, but underemployed. Mm-hmm. And that starts a snowball effect in a whole different direction. So, it's easy to crack a joke saying COVID comes out before 12, so why, but there is rationality. I think one of the other reasons was that there's unfortunately, there's a number of road traffic accidents that happen after a certain hour. Mm-hmm. So if there's less traffic on the road after 12, there's less likelihood of accidents happening at that hour, and that takes the strain off of the intensive care and emergency ward, where they can focus on the persons coming in with COVID and other things versus people where they got to focus 5 personnel on a road accident and so on and so forth. So there's a multitude of reasons. It isn't as simple as saying COVID comes out over there, you know what I mean?
I think yesterday when the Minister of Health gave her latest update, she talked about the strain on the hospital. And, with the numbers that we currently have and the increase of persons that are hospitalized, I'm sure that each and one of us can imagine that, this is not normal for our hospital. And so there is a strain, and it has some stresses in it. And so obviously even as you come up with, when you look at the various changes and rules and amendments that the legislators have to look at, there's are things that we need to take into consideration as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the key things in explaining things that don't sound logical is breaking it down for people so they realize, okay, I understand. I have a fully, just like you said with the enforcement, there has to be an education component as well. So once people are educated of the reason why we're doing something that doesn't seem naturally logical, okay, I understand now. I have a better understanding, and I thank you for coming on. There's another question which may or may not fall on your remit as well, but I'm going to ask it.
Surely.
Regarding the safe key, do you think persons should get themselves tested when their safe key expires just to ensure that they are still negative? Or would this put a strain on the testing facilities?
It's definitely not within my remit, safe key. So I wouldn't even take a stab at answering that one, because what you're asking is about like the policy and the technical details of safe key. And for me, I'm going to stay in my lane on that one. I want to say one thing, though. One morning, though, famous, and this goes back to when we think about forming our opinions on the curfew. I was listening to Power 95, and a guy called in to Christy Joseph. I was trying to make sure I used her correct married name. And he was saying that, when we talk about having like curfew at 11 and 10 o'clock, and he works in hospitality, he said he was losing 1 hour of employment every night. And he said, I work 6 days a week. He said, so in the course of the week, that's now 6 hours that he would lose. And he said, if you multiply that times 4 weeks in a month, that's 24 hours that he loses, because we have a curfew in place. And, I don't know who the gentleman was, because I don't think he said his name or anything like that, and that's not even important. But when you sit down and you think about it, he's got a family, and he's trying to take care of, his family, keeping the roof over their head, food in their mouths and stuff. But you're losing 24 hours of employment time. That's, that's, call it what it is, money. I my heart actually went out to that gentleman. And others who get impacted in the same situation, are impacted by just the same things.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, Minister, we're just about to wrap up. Zane, is there any message you want to put out to the people of Bermuda or the people who are listening?
I'd like to just ask everyone to try and be safe, stay healthy, and to make some common sense decisions.
Sorry, hello.
Go ahead.
Hi, did you get me?
No, I didn't hear you. I heard safe and common sense. Maybe it's just my ear.
I was appealing, saying to Bermuda to stay safe, stay healthy, and to exercise your common sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of the things that just before we close, one of the things that people were taken by surprise is like the government is saying, you have to exercise personal responsibility. And the irony is that some of the same people who were, critics of this mandate, this directive, well, why are you not giving us no rules now? Like, when we were putting things in place, were you following it? So, there's a level of hypocrisy, I would say, in the part of some people, that when you're given directives to assist you, you don't follow it. Now that we're saying, what you're supposed to do, you're saying that the government's abandoned the people. That, it's frustrating.
Well, I would never agree that we're abandoning people. I mean, I wake up every morning and, one of the first things that's on my mind is the 60,000+ people that I have responsibility for to keep safe. And that's the driving force in the decisions that we make and, looking at the various pieces of legislation and even just some of the policies and things that come through the actual ministry. So I think that, a pandemic, when you think about it, comes around, at this stage, one every 100 years. And so there's no playbook. There's no guidance on how this should work. I'm going to hope that what we would have learned now can be documented and saved for, the next time around, because we may not, probably won't be here. But I'm hopeful that, just even as a people, we become understanding and have some empathy for everyone and everything that's going on around us right now.
All right, well, Minister, I want to thank you for your first but not last visit to motion to adjourn. Anything you want to shout out to your constituents in Constituency 1?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me. And I do note that it is my first time being invited on, but, I wouldn't say anything about that. But it is an honor on my side to represent Constituency number 1. I have the absolute best constituents in the world. They know that. I love my constituents. They're very supportive. And you know what? I just wish them all the best and, encourage them to stay safe, be healthy, and, again, make healthy decisions. But you know what, Famous? It is my pleasure to be the representative for Constituency number 1.
Yes, because a lot of times people tend to forget that once you're a minister, it does not make you any less of an MP. And I can attest that you are definitively one of those MPs that stay grounded to your constituents in all matters.
And I thank them for always supporting, Famous, and I, say that I'm having something in my area. I have people that will reach out and be like, what is it you want us to do? We've had a feeding program now since last year, April. I have no shortage of volunteers every Saturday, and now we're just moving to Saturdays. But last year, this time, we were feeding every Saturday, every Sunday, packaging food, delivering meals. And my constituents have reached out. They donate containers. We've had donations of, dishwashing liquid. And, it's been amazing, and they continue to support in this journey. We recognize that it's challenging times all around. And I also like to give a big shout-out to Summer Supermart, and in particular, we deal with Ramata because they're the ones that prepare our food for us to be able to do this feeding program. So we've been doing this since last year, April. It's a community event, community initiative, I should say. I have no less than 14 volunteers every week. These are people that are committed. They come every Saturday. They help package the food up. We clean up at the community center in St. George's. Dishes get washed up. I mean, there are some days you can't ask for any better than this.
All right, and one last, what would you say to the St. George's fans?
You know what? It's always next year. When we started Cup Match, we knew it was going to be a winner, a loser, or a draw. And like I said to you, it wasn't the result we expected. But you know what I say? I say, don't worry about it. After I got over Friday of Cup Match, and I said, that's all right, because next year, when we go Somerset, we're going to get that cup.
All right. Well, thank you, Minister. Thank you for your first visit. Will be your last. And appreciate you. Thank you for coming to Motion to Adjourn.
No problem. Thank you for having me, and you take care and be safe as well.
All right, cool.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right.
Doing?
Yes, I'm here for you.
So, yeah, thank you, Brother Dawn. You stay safe.
Thank you, too, sir. You as well. You said you're in, where are you now? Undisclosed location. I got it.
Yeah. Well, I guess one final word.
Go ahead.
I mean, all jokes aside, the country is in a crisis. Last week we had Dr. Michael Richmond, the CEO of the BH board, saying, no, the staff of nearing fatigue. The hospital has gone through millions of dollars in cash reserves just to keep us going. And we aren't even seeing the peak of what we're going through. So I say and I pray for the last 18 months we have been, we meaning not just the government, but the community, the television stations, this radio station, this show in particular. We've been saying to people, please follow the rules. The rules aren't there just to say the government's in charge. The rules are there to save lives. I'm tired of looking in the page, whatever, and seeing people there that should not be there. Or at least shouldn't be there as yet. I'm tired of constituents calling me saying, oh, I just lost my so-and-so. Because there's a price to pay. There's people who their whole lives are just completely changed. Those that even survived, they're dealing with long COVID. I have a coworker who probably can't come back to work anymore because they're dealing with long-term COVID. So, these are the things, people. The vaccine is not here to kill you. That's here to save us. So, on that note, Brother Dawn, we'll be talking again next week.
All right, sir. See you then. Have a good one and be safe.
And shout out to Baby Robinson.
Yes. All right. Cool,
brother.
And you have been listening to Motion to Adjourn with MP Chris Famous and Dwayne Robinson. Until tomorrow, be safe out there.